Sorry, mic was muted. Hello, everyone. My name is Swamp. And we are back. There we go. Get the music going. It's time for another U.S. National Archives Saturday. And you know, we have to start it with Private Snafu. Make sure I got this set up right. Wow. Man, I'm sloppy today. Sorry, I realized I had this set on the wrong thing. Hang on. There we go. Now we got it. All right, yeah, before we jump into all of the educational films, documentaries, some stuff about aliens, right? Because that's where we're at right now. For some reason, that's what I'm into from the archives. Watch the stuff about aliens. Before we get into that, Private Snafu. Take it away.
Man. Pipe down! I'm trying to do some brain work.
How the hell do you expect a guy to study with all that racket going on? Study?
Yeah, he's got old Mel Blanc out there killing it.
Nazis, I ain't gonna clunk them over the head with no books. What you gotta give them dopes is a belly full of lead. Hello, Superman. Huh? Well, if I was Superman, I bet you I'd show him plenty. Okay, chum. As technical fairy first class, I now pronounce you Snafuperman. Oh, boy! Enemies of democracy, beware!
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
This looks like a job for Snafuperman!
Navigation maps!
Thank you very much. But I am not bombing Berlin with maps this season. Ah, Berlin.
And this one really is just exactly Looney Tunes.
Pardon me, but can you drop this? The Americans are on our side, you know. Aha! A lumbering Japanese tank. Come out, you bandy-legged disturber of world peace! General! Ooh. A whole mess of Messerschmitts. Trying to bomb our port, eh?
Yeah, maybe we should just watch some vintage cartoons as well.
harmless as a burnt-out match. Too bad. Poor Superman. Is there anything I can do for you? Yes. Yes, there is. I would appreciate it if you could get me a field manual!
Well, there you go. Now you know you should you should always have a field manual and pay attention to it, you know. But thank you, Snafu, for letting us know. Gotta love it. All right, guys, like I said, my name is Swamp. Make sure you like the stream. Super chats will, of course, activate the super chat jukebox.
I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly. I'll circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back, circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back with all of you.
And if you don't want to give money to YouTube, you can always hit up the PayPal link in the description. And today we are raising funds to continue my AR-15 build. The lower is done, but I have realized that when the last fundraiser that I was doing, I was not I was not aware that the upper that I was looking at and basing my price on was not a complete upper. So yeah. Hey, I've never done this before, all right? I'm learning as I go, so I gotta make sure I do it right. At least try to. And of course, some help with buying some ammo wouldn't hurt. So, all the money on today's stream goes to the AR-15 build. And potentially, you know, maybe I'll show you guys a quick video the first time I take it out and start firing it. I did show last time what I have so far. I don't have that picture pulled up right now, but I did show that on the last stream or last Friday. Something. I showed you guys that at some point. First things first. We need to learn about some aliens. The most important thing. This is a short documentary from 1975 called Who's Out There? Let's see, the summary says, this film explores the new view of extraterrestrial life now emerging from the results of probes to other planets. Wow. The film discusses the conclusion of a number of distinguished scientists that other intelligent civilizations exist in the universe. I'm pumped. Because, you know, I'm a huge believer in aliens. So let's see if they got it right in 1975. Starting with Orson Welles. All right, good. It's a good place to start.
Before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life existed beyond the petty surface of our own minute sphere.
This is already epic. I love it.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's. Across an immense, ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as our minds are to the beasts in the jungle. Intellects vast,
Are we watching a space odyssey? I didn't realize.
unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes. And surely drew their plans against us. Hello, I'm Orson Welles, and I've been quoting from another Welles, no relation, H.G. Wells, the distinguished novelist, historian, prophet, who was also the great master of science fiction. He wrote The War of the Worlds, on which was based a certain notorious radio broadcast, which
Yeah, what an epic
remember,
voice. Why don't I have an epic voice like
our
that?
listeners panicking into the streets all over the country. H.G. denounced me for doing it, but later when he realized that our broadcast, like his story, was not intended to cause riots, but just to entertain, we got to be good friends. And I was forgiven. Whether all those people who jammed the highways and even took to the hills to escape the Martians have forgiven me is another matter.
Man, this is meta. This is super meta, man.
This was it. Listening to that show, I said we were very
great show,
impressionable
great
at that
broadcast.
age
If you
because of
haven't
Buck
actually
Rogers
listened
and
to it,
Flash
it's
Gordon.
amazing.
And that really made a big impression on us.
One fellow in particular who owned a store took the money from his cash register and loaded his
And the audio
car
on
up
this
with
is
food
just absolutely
and
terrible.
took off for the mountains and left his wife and children at home.
New York City was just demolished, and they were coming closer.
All of North Jersey is an inferno, and they are proceeding south.
That's your fault for not understanding.
Of no nightmare
Come on.
as terrifying as establishing such communication with the so-called superior, or if you wish, advanced technology in outer space.
George Wald is a Nobel Prize-winning biologist, one of a group of distinguished scientists meeting on the subject of extraterrestrial life. All of the people you will be seeing in this program, scientists, radio listeners, Orson Welles, have one thing in common. Each has had reason to believe in the likely existence of non-earthly life in the universe.
I think there's no question but that we live in an inhabited universe that has life all over it.
What I'm imagining is the facts that I've just stated becoming generally known, so that people know that out there is a million other civilizations. They all look fabulously ugly, and they're all a lot smarter than us. That seems to me useful and a character-building experience for mankind.
From the monstrous Mars life of his famous broadcast, Orson Welles will be taking us through
Sagan?
science
Is
fiction
that what
to
we're looking at
science
here?
fact, to the new view of extraterrestrial life now emerging from probes to the planets, interstellar discoveries, and findings about the nature of life itself. A real picture as astonishing in its way as the science fiction of 1938.
If there is life out there, intelligent life, how did we ever get the notion that it might be otherwise than friendly? Well, Mars, of course, is the god of war, so the planet bearing his name might be expected to have warlike intentions. In our broadcast, the Martians were as aggressive and ruthless as any human being. Ridiculous assumption on the face of it. They were supposedly as bad as we are, at our worst, and also much uglier. They brandished death rays in their slimy tentacles. And for a while at least, just toward the end of the radio play, they appeared to be totally invincible. What finally stopped them? Well, here's the way it went. In the words of the mythical Professor Pearson of Princeton, who was our commentator, I remember, he said, writing in his journal when the whole thing was put together again and the world was in business, I remember wandering through Manhattan, standing alone on Times Square, and catching sight of a lean dog running down 7th Avenue with a piece of dark brown meat in its jaws. I walked up Broadway, past silent shop windows, and suddenly I caught sight of a Martian machine. And then across Columbus Circle, I could see, standing in a silent row, 19 of those great metal titans, their cowls empty, their steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. And I looked for the monsters that inhabit those machines, and then, before my eyes, I saw them stark and silent. The Martians themselves, with a flock of hungry birds pecking and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. And later, when their bodies were examined in laboratories, it was found that they had been killed by disease bacteria, against which their systems were unprepared.
And that wasn't a great cut that they pulled there.
After all man's
That's the technology of the time, you know. They weren't. It was not digital editing.
God in his wisdom had put upon this earth the common cold. And that's the way it was. Well, quite a lot of things have happened in the world since then. An invasion from the planet Mars, that at least is one thing that didn't happen. But in a way, you know, we have been invading Mars. If Mars hasn't exactly been invaded, well, it's certainly been investigated, not attacked, but thoroughly, very thoroughly studied. Observations.
Who made this? What was the context of this? I'm not even sure.
Even back then in 1930.
Let's see. I'd like to know where the origins. I mean, they got the summary, National Archives. Renowned actor, writer, and director Orson Welles, with contributions from scientists George Wald, Carl Sagan, and others, examines the possibility. Yeah. Why was this made? I mean, it's cool. This is 1975. I'm just curious as to what was this made for? What was the intention? No, that's not it. Here, transcript, more information. Let's see. They really don't give you much explanation. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. But... Huh. Creative production, 1975. The archives, they could use a little bit more information. I mean, come on. This archive is not telling me much about this. Was this... And surely this wasn't made for TV. Was it? Maybe? I don't know. They're not giving me any information on this. Maybe it was made for TV. I don't know. We got a transcript. I have no idea.
It seemed plausible to many people that life could have developed on Mars, just as it had on Earth. Peering through telescopes, scientists had seen what? Well, first a planet that, like our own Earth, had polar ice caps. fascinated to see that the ice caps grew and receded with each year. Large areas changed color with the seasons. Did that mean vegetation? Straight lines were sighted on the planet's surface. Some called them canals. The American astronomer Percival Lowell believed that these Martian canals had been created by an advanced technological civilization. First in 1965 and then again in 1969, NASA sent spacecraft to fly by Mars and send back scientific measurements and close-up photographs.
This is picture 21, a red picture, wide-angle picture, fantastic picture. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Look at those little craters. This is a narrow-angle camera view.
The Mariner missions were great achievements for the scientists. But the pictures of Mars showed a world of total desolation. Was Mars less like the Earth then and more like the Moon? There were no canals, no cities, no areas of cultivation, no signs of upheaval or layering in the Martian crust to indicate that the planet was active or evolving geologically. The pictures revealed no volcanoes to spew out gases that could enrich the atmosphere. And water, so essential to life, seemed to be present only in traces. The atmosphere was so thin as to make the possibility of life seem even more remote. For the fans of science fiction, not very exciting. But for scientists, the whole excitement is finding out the facts. That's the whole name of the game. Now, these first flybys had revealed only some of the facts. But all the same, the exploration of Mars and of all the other planets of the solar system was actually getting underway.
I can't feel that any person with any soul can look out on that universe that surrounds us.
Yeah, was this made as some kind of thing to get the public into NASA? Was that the point of it? Like you said, the Viking mission and stuff. Maybe that's what it is. Try to get the public on board. I don't know. The U.S. National Archive does a crap job of explaining what any of this stuff is. Surely they know. If they could just tell us, that'd be fantastic.
The immensity of it and the history of it, without being rather impressed with the idea that we, as little atoms made of the same stuff those stars are made of, have the capability to regard the other part of the universe. One piece of the universe has the ability to look at another part of the universe and wonder about it. That's a very amazing thing, and it brings into one's mind all kinds of thoughts about religion and philosophy and so on. But don't ask me about life on Mars, okay?
In the fictional Martian story, in the War of the Worlds, it was understood that the Martians were fighting for their own survival. Their planet was growing so cold and inhospitable that they might perish if they remained. Well, real life confined to such a planet would fight for survival by trying to change itself, by evolving. Every living thing on Earth has evolved from the lowly, the invisibly small microbe. Given nourishment, the microbe will grow colonies so vast that they rapidly become visible to the eye. Here on our planet, microbes have adapted to survive the most hostile conditions. Arid deserts, the frozen Himalayas, in trenches under thousands of tons of pressure in the ocean.
I don't know, maybe this was just some documentary that was put out
discovering adaptive capabilities in life
about life on other planets, and it has nothing to do with NASA. I have no idea.
Would have been regarded as fantastic. Within the cooling systems of atomic reactors, organisms have been discovered flourishing, where radiation could be expected to destroy any living thing. In hospitals that use ultraviolet for sterilization, strains have been found resistant to the killing radiation. Biologists are growing organisms in
No
salt
way.
solutions,
A black scientist?
in acids,
How progressive.
in alkalines, in ammonia gas, in boiling hot springs, in ice that is thawed for part of every day. In the vacuum of a space simulator, life forms have been flourishing for years without oxygen.
Well, as soon as we find those life forms alive on another planet, then I'll care.
Scientists are studying
I mean, it is interesting, don't get me
kinds of
wrong.
environments
That's what I'm here
that
for.
could challenge life forms on the planets and moons of the solar system. In 1971, Mariner 9 arrived at Mars, equipped to go into orbit and stay for a while. A good thing, too, because when it arrived, Mars' surface was obscured by a global dust storm. As the storm abated, a whole new Mars began
We
to
found a
make its
bunch of
appearance.
dots. Oh, and they're gone.
The
now.
first feature that swam into view, poking up through the dust, appeared to be a huge impact crater. But it stood miles above the Martian lowlands on the peak of an immense mountain, Nix Olympica. And as the dust
What did you
settled
call me?
further, the stunning truth emerged that the mountain on Mars was indeed a gigantic volcano. So, geologically, Mars was not a dead planet after all. Vast stretch
You know,
marks
it's
on the
funny to
planet.
me, to go down briefly into the conspiracies that people have about NASA and everything from flat earthers to space is fake people. Look at these. Nowadays, there's these people who say that, well, NASA even admits and Google admits that they like make a collage of pictures. They don't have, that's not a real picture. Come on, don't be stupid. That's what they're showing here back in 1975 too. Or where was that? Yeah, the zoomed out version of it. Hang on. Where is it? I mean, all of these are pictures laid on top of each other to give you... Yeah, I mean, come on. That's what they do. I mean, actually, this looks like a world map from some RPG or something. You have not yet discovered what's outside of this. But you know what I mean? Because things are digital now, it's like people act as if the same principle doesn't apply. That you don't have to compile the image, that somehow we're in the digital age, so I should just have a one giant image that is this, not I mean, Google Earth is a bunch of satellite images stitched together. This is what it actually, this is the first version of that, right? We do now have Google Mars, which is awesome. By the way. But I think it's just funny that to look at this and people so much don't understand where these images come from anymore, that the fact that they realize that this is how they get these images by pasting them together, people had no idea that's what they were doing or that's what they were looking at, so they go, what? They're pasted together? It must be fake. No, that's how it works, my friend. That's how it works.
Mountain on Mars was indeed a gigantic volcano. So, geologically,
Cue all the people. Swamp, I thought you were a flat earther. I'm not going to subscribe to you anymore.
Mars' surface is shifting and changing on a colossal scale.
You believe we went to the moon?
Mars is beginning to look, geologically at least, more like the Earth and less like the moon. And then new evidence of water has begun to turn up in surprising ways. Among the many clouds in the Martian atmosphere, some have been found to be composed of water. Then close-ups of the surface have begun to turn up strange, sinuous patterns. Some compare with the patterns cut into the surface of our own planet by the Mississippi River. Slowly the interpretation emerged that only a fluid flowing continuously over the Martian surface could have caused such patterns of erosion. Some scientists didn't agree but astronomer Carl Sagan theorized that Mars indeed contained a great deal more water than we'd supposed. The water might remain locked within its crust as permafrost during ice age times such as the present, but during cycles of warmth, when the polar caps release gases to form a heavier atmosphere, the water may be released into clouds. Such clouds could bathe the planet in rains for thousands and perhaps millions of years. If Sagan's interpretation is correct, life could have originated on Mars in favorable cycles and may have adapted itself to harsher conditions as they developed, and indeed may exist on Mars to this day. Exobiologists are studying other environments, even as they prepare to search directly for life beyond the planet Earth. Flying by Jupiter, Pioneer 10 confirmed estimates that within its atmosphere are combinations of gases similar to those in which life originated on Earth. While a second Pioneer is being aimed to curve past Jupiter and fly by Saturn, Earth-based measurements show that a moon of Saturn, nearly the size of the planet Mercury, contains an atmosphere, water, and surprising warmth. A Viking spacecraft is being readied to land on Mars in 1976, carrying an automated chemical laboratory to sample Martian soil for life forms. The discovery of just one bacteria on Mars, or any other body of the solar system, would indicate that the whole chain of evolutions, cosmic, chemical, and biological, is at work everywhere. In that case, the creation of life anywhere in the universe would be more the rule than the exception. In that case, there may be other intelligent civilizations capable of communicating.
You know, everyone, just wake me up when we're living in the days of Mass Effect. That's what I'm looking for. Mass Effect. That's all. I need to be able to fly through a mass relay to the Citadel and commune with 26 other species, intelligent species. I'm not sure that he's exactly right on this. I'll just let him finish it.
The impact on ourselves of contact with another intelligent civilization, how it might come about and what the effects might be, is now being discussed by serious thinkers the world over. This symposium at Boston University includes astronomer Carl Sagan, anthropologist Ashley Montague. Krista Stendhal is Dean of the Harvard School of Divinity. Professor Barrett.
Speaking of Carl Sagan, does anyone else out there listen to the planetary radio? Because that thing is awesome. And I've listened to it for quite a few years, and I have stopped listening to it when they started, they were going to have a new guy doing it. I don't even know if they actually got the new guy on there or not. You know what I'm talking about? Is anyone else a member of Planetary Radio, which was started by Carl Sagan? Is why I'm bringing this up, obviously. Trying to look it up. See, there was a while ago. They said that there was going to be a new host, and I had heard something from the host, and I decided I wasn't going to listen to it anymore. Which is a bummer. Maybe I should give it a chance. Just didn't seem like my cup of tea. Here, let's see. Let's listen. Is there a new host? Let's see.
Inspiring the next generation through space education. This week on Planetary Radio. I'm Sarah Al-Ahmed of the Planetary Society with more of the
I've heard her before. Who's the new host?
So, what is Case of Bennu or the stars?
Right, you always see at least one offer from the I guess she hosts
I started
it now?
as a museum guide, and it was
Academy. And anyway,
I swear that's not who the host. I swear it was something else. Hang on. See a different episode.
So we're a failure and wanting it to be kind of one or the other. But then also the environmental impact of the launch itself. And, so you had called this out in advance, but to most observers.
That's the guy that I thought had taken it over. Man, what are the odds I just skipped to one part of it? And he says, he sounds like an absolute soy boy. And then he's like, but what about the environmental impact of the launch itself? See, that's what I thought it was. That's hilarious. I've never even heard this before. I just chose one of the new episodes, and that's how that's that's where we jump into it. What the environmental impact of what is happening with the See, I didn't know that's what the new guy was going to be like exactly. I had heard some stuff from him, but I knew when the old guy was retiring and they had said who was going to take over. He sounded like that kind of guy. Man, that's hilarious.
It seemed to be a surprise. And you saw pieces in the Washington Post and the New York Times and other major outlets suddenly talking about the fact that Starship is launching in in Boca Chica, which is surrounded by protect.
Oh, you can just hear it in his voice. What an insufferable human being. That's a bummer because Planetary Radio has been awesome. I've listened to Planetary Radio for years, up until they brought this new guy in. We're just ruining everything. That's we're every single possible thing. We're just going to screw it up. Anyway, let's go back to 1975.
Johnson teaches a course entitled Search for Life in the Universe. Professor Philip Morrison of MIT co-authored the first seriously reasoned paper on possible modes of communication with extraterrestrial life. George Wald won the Nobel Prize in 1971 for his work in physiology.
It is now okay to talk about life elsewhere or intelligent life elsewhere, whereas a decade or two ago it wasn't okay. It was considered too speculative to be worth any investment.
There's a lot of turtlenecks in that audience. A lot of turtlenecks.
And our galaxy alone is so staggeringly large, in the order of 10 to the 11 or more. The probability of stars having planetary systems is so high, we think perhaps half. The probability that those planetary systems might be comparable with our own, and that the stars have some kind of an ecosphere, a sphere in which the radiation is suitable for life, that it's not too hot, not too cold, meeting the other criteria, seems so reasonable. These bits of information that come from
man. Art Bell is awesome.
Then we join with the
definitely got to agree with
tell
that.
us about the probable evolution of life here on Earth, the kinds of elements that are necessary for it, DNA molecules and amino acids and the like. Amino acids which have now been found in meteorites, that we have now found interstellar molecules floating out in the space between stars, so that you know the materials for a carbon-based life exist. We know that many of the building blocks of life in our own solar system exist off of our planet. If you put these kinds of probabilities together, it begins to lead to the sorts of conclusions that we started with as an initial premise, and which apparently no one on the panel has disagreed. And that is that life must exist in the universe, and it must exist quite abundantly.
The most optimistic estimates, in the view of many, about the number...
This is total random, I guess not random, but just a thought that's popping into my head that just drives me insane, since we've now unintentionally contrasted the new people that are on the Planetary Radio, which again was started by Carl Sagan. And listen to Carl Sagan's voice, listen to the voice of the guy that was just talking, listen to everyone on this panel. They sound like adults. They sound their voices, varying pitches, of course. They're not all just very deep, but they sound like adults. They sound like fully developed human beings. And now, compare my voice with that guy from the new Planetary Radio. What the? It's like these people their bodies haven't even matured, which is a whole different rabbit hole that we could go down. Some Alex Jones type conspiracies, about why that may be the fact, why that may have happened. But isn't that weird? Listen to these new people that are talking about these things. And one, they're saying, well, didn't the shuttle launch affect the environment? It's not even what they're saying as much as even how they're saying it, the sound of their voice. Good Lord. They got someone on there who's probably, since they brought someone new in and he's talking about woke stuff, I assume anywhere from 28 to 30, 35, something like that. He sounds like he's 14. Squeaky little... Well, have you considered the impact of the launch on the it's on the environment? That's not a way a nerd talks. That's the way that just a prepubescent boy talks. These guys are nerds. These are all nerds. Absolutely, in the actual definition of a nerd. Not the way that we say now if you like Lord of the Rings or... not even Lord of the Rings. If you like a Marvel movie, you're such a nerd. No, these guys are actual nerds. And they sound like men. What happened to that? Sorry, just a random observation, kind of out of nowhere, but still. I think it's relevant. I think it's on brand for this channel to talk about it.
If you put these kinds of probabilities together, it begins to lead to the sorts of conclusions that we started with as an initial premise, and which apparently no one on the panel has disagreed. And that is that life must exist in the universe, and it must exist quite abundantly.
The most optimistic estimates, in the view of many, about the number of civilizations that there might be in the galaxy is of the order of 1 million. Which means that only one in a few 100,000 stars has such civilizations.
That would mean a billion such places just in our own galaxy that might contain life.
As I believe there's a society of these groups, not just one. There are probably very many. There's only one. We have no hope of finding him. There are probably thousands, maybe as many as 1 million.
Oh, and I always forget to bring this up. I mean to bring it up in every single stream. Make sure you switch to live chat as opposed to the top chat if you haven't already. Because I just realized I've got 2 chat windows open. I got the one from Streamlabs and the one on the YouTube browser. One's on top chat. I've always got the Streamlabs set to live chat. And you saying the words no homo, LOL, gets censored by YouTube. If you're not on live chat, you can't see someone saying no homo. That gets censored. That's enough to get censored. So make sure you switch to live chat so you can actually see what people are saying, and know when when someone says no homo. That's important context. And I'm telling you, if you're not on the live chat, you wouldn't know that we're saying no homo. It's Oh no, it's not you, creature. It's not you doing anything wrong. I think it's just hilarious that's one of the things that YouTube chooses to censor. You can't say homo. Because I guess the only people who say homo now are people like us. I don't know. But I could screenshot this and show. Or you could just do it yourself. Switch back and forth between live chat and top chat because it defaults on top chat. and see what messages get removed. That's what YouTube censors. That's not even including the stuff that YouTube just actually censors, meaning even if you switch to live chat, you can't see it, because there's plenty of that too. But I think it's hilarious. No homo, you guys. No homo.
Many have had a long history of this same experience of finding new ones and bringing them into the network.
And I would imagine if an advanced civilization wanted to talk to us, they would say, oh, well, look, those guys must be extremely backwards. Go into some ancient museum and pull out one of those, what are they called, radio telescopes, and beam it at them.
In 1970, a study of the feasibility for picking up interstellar communication was made in California by a number of radio scientists there, as well as astronomers and others. It's called Project Cyclops. The outcome of that study was that the United States had the technical capability of building a large radio array, which would be able to scan the heavens with fairly great resolution and power sensitivity out to a distance of many hundreds or possibly thousands of light years, with the very distinct possibility of picking up a signal if it were there.
Our present technology is able to detect ourselves anywhere in this galaxy of about 250 billion stars.
First, the people beaming the message will be incredibly
who was it that said it in the chat that now, I mean, these are the people we used to have talking about this, and now we've got Neil deGrasse Tyson, which I used to enjoy until you really start listening to him and realize that he's a total complete tool. He's basically Bill Nye, the black version. What happened to people actually talking about things in science? I mean, it's just a radical idea. Maybe we should discuss things in the scientific field. Oh, totally bizarre. Wow, who would have thought?
Even if their biochemistry resembles the biochemistry Professor Wall teaches, it will not be all that close, you know. It will have enzymes, but it will be the LD situation will be quite different, and I don't know what chains of enzyme systems they will have at all. And you couldn't eat their food, very likely, even though they're the same biochemistry. Any more than you would eat the food of a mushroom. It's very difficult to eat that. So I think, first of all, there will be two great phases of this eventual time, which I think will come in 10 years or 100 years, or I don't know, maybe longer, when some satisfactory radio telescope work or something similar will acquire evidence of the deliberate beaming of a message, protracted message out into space. So I think that will be easy and, of course, extraordinarily important. You will know very little of what that message says, save that it exists, and maybe some general geographic information from how far away it's coming, from what kind of a star, where. And then I think that you will have pouring into the recorders, week after week, month after month, decade after decade, an enormous body of obviously interesting and meaningful pulses. And you'll be able to read them slowly and fitfully, because they will not be coded, but they'll be anti-coded. That's to say, the people who designed them, the beings who designed them, will have thought very carefully how to make the maximum number of mathematical clues. The best way to single out the meaning will be made available. I think the most important thing that it will bring to us, if we can finally understand it, will be a description.
Jim. I mean, it's the wow signal, and this was before the wow signal. This was 1975. They were talking about that, but there's been plenty of things like that, actually. There's the wow signal, but we've actually found repeating radio signals coming to Earth for quite a while. I mean, I can't remember exactly. A jumbo margarita straight to the brain will do that to you. We can't remember exactly. But this it is interesting, and even in this field, while they're sitting here talking about the aliens and potential life on other planets. Even in that field, you're not allowed to have ideas like this anymore. You're not even allowed. If you're not allowed to have wild, extreme, out of the box ideas in the field of extraterrestrial life, then where are you allowed to have wild ideas anymore? No, but I'm sure whatever the government has to say, I'm sure they're probably dead on. That's just how it works.
Of how beings disposing of great technology were able to fashion a world in which they could live and persevere and maintain something of worth and beauty for a long period of time.
And finally, it would end our social and cultural isolation. To date, we have been bounded.
I love how this dude, the way he looks, is you can't tell if is this guy just the nerdiest person you've ever met? Like he's in, and by nerdy, I mean like he's really smart. Is this the smartest person you've ever met? Or is this 1975 and he could potentially be the most deadly assassin that the CIA has ever produced? You can't tell. You can't tell. He could be. Has this guy assassinated world leaders? Or is he just a thought leader in the realm of extraterrestrial science? We don't know. We can't tell. What a better time. Good times.
Not only into our own countries and into our own small regions on this planet, but most assuredly within our solar system itself. If there are the tens of billions of other civilizations which the predictions indicate might be, then we would join a larger galactic community.
In 1976, we're going to be able to explore Mars for perhaps not so humble microorganisms. Before and after that, we'll be searching the planets and the galaxies for clues to fill in the new patterns we're discovering. The evolution of evolutions that has produced us and the possible millions of other civilizations.
It is conceivable that a spherical ship will land in front of the Washington Monument and a figure with 4 antennas and...
Man, the way this guy looks and the way he's, messing around with that paper and all that stuff, like fidgeting. It is conceivable. No, I was looking at this guy. I thought he was going to say, it is inconceivable. Inconceivable. Princess Bride reference. You know what I mean? Inconceivable. Sorry. Okay, let's continue.
Otherwise looking like the professional football player will walk out and demand to see our leader. But I hope very much that the universe of circumstance is wider than the rather shoddy imaginations of science fiction writers for 30 or 40 years. And I'm pretty convinced it is. We've not found their guidance so great in any but the most modest activities, like going to the moon, which is not very much.
The difference between the spacecrafts of NASA and the lurid flying saucery of that old radio War of the Worlds is the difference between science and science fiction. And yes, between war and peace. It's our own world which has turned out to be the interplanetary visitor. We're the ones who are moving out there, not with death rays, but with cameras. Not to conquer, but simply to learn. We are, in fact, behaving ourselves far better out there than we ever have back here at home on our own planet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Who's Out There from 1975. The question is in the chat. More aliens or go on to something else from the National Archive? I've got another thing from the National Archive pulled up. We've got the Roswell reports from 1997, where it says Where's the description? This film, written and produced by Captain James McAndrew, was produced to accompany the U.S. Air Force 1997 publication of the Roswell Report, Case Closed. We'll see what the propaganda was at the time, the current propaganda download from the time. Or, I mean, I think I'll play the next episode of Snafu either way while the poll is going. That or a film called Have a Coke, which is from 1966. Says, depicts in humorous vein the impressions of 3 Ethiopian students. I think this might, already might be the one. The impressions of 3 Ethiopian students upon entering a strange country and the perplexing world of university life at the University of California, Los Angeles. Do we even need to have a poll for that one, I guess? Yeah, something else would be for the Have a Coke 1966. I do want to watch the 97 Roswell reports, but that might be too much back to back. We just finished Who's Out There from 1975, and we might need to watch some fun stuff from the National Archive. But I'll let that sit. I'll let that poll sit in the chat for a little bit, and remind everybody, this is the AR-15 fundraiser. Help me finish my upper build, and I am building it. I'm not building it totally from scratch, but I'm not buying a completed upper, which is something that I didn't even understand on the last AR-15 fundraiser. But you guys completely blew it out of the park and made it so I was able to buy everything I needed for the lower build, which is now done. Which, like I said, I have shown a picture of that. I don't have it pulled up. I think it's somewhere in here. I don't know. Anyway, for the upper build and for some ammo, and let me know if you are the proud owner of an AR-15. 556-223. I mean, what's the deal, you guys? What do you? Because I have heard from multiple major news outlets conflicting reports. I've seen after the Nashville shooting that 223 is the deadliest round ever created in the history of humanity, bar none. It is just the most ridiculous thing ever. But I also heard after the Uvalde shooting that 5.56 by far dwarfs 223, and it is in fact essentially a cannon and is the most deadly thing in the history of all humanity. Either way, your donations will help me buy some ammo and complete the upper build. So very much appreciated. Let's have Snafu take it away before we switch to the next movie.
Not bad, but it don't do justice to me nose. Well, swimming at sundown and naked all over. Ah. just my meat. Why, it's Snafu. I never forget a face. No resistance.
Now, where did that little son of a gun go?
Just my type. Caught me with his pants up. But I'll show the little...
Now for the soft underbelly of Snafu.
Geez, I shot the wrong man. Right windage, 4. Range, 75. Bull at 4 o'clock.
What did you do in the big war, Daddy?
Oh, I did my share.
Just a moment, please. This program has come to you through the courtesy of my sponsors, the United States Army, distributors of GI repellent, mosquito nets, Atabrine tablets, and good old-fashioned horse sense. Gee, I wish the hell I'd used them.
Looks like we got all the votes that we're going to get. All right. Sorry for the more alien vote. We have no more aliens. Aliens are gone. No, we'll get back to it at some point. But for now, I present to you Have a Coke, which says, depicts in humorous vein the impression of 3 Ethiopian students upon entering a strange country. I can't wait. Okay, so this is from 1966.
Have some coffee.
Oh, thank you. Thank
What country are you all from?
Ethiopia.
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 Oh, how wonderful. So glad you could come.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I was saying, why not?
To begin with, my arrival, Gizao Kivle, scholarship student in economics at University of California, was anything but propitious.
Mr. Keifel Geisel, please come to the information counter.
On arriving, I found that all my baggage had been accidentally routed to some place called Watsonville.
Mr. Keiselgoa, please come to the information counter.
I somehow missed the representative the university had arranged to meet me. And having spent in New York most of the money I had changed, I found that the draft on the Bank of Ethiopia was useless at night. The first person I met was a policeman who arrested me at once. My command of the language departed, and I was unable to speak in my own behalf or understand my offense. I cannot describe to you my feeling as I finally entered the city of Los Angeles as a criminal. I had no idea where the police were taking me. It was, however, not to prison. I had apparently arrived, somewhat irregularly, at the University of California at Los Angeles. On this huge campus, my scholarship, which seemed so bountiful an honor from the government, proved something less than adequate. To save money, I entered a cooperative student dormitory. Breakfast is served early and is very unusual. My roommate is an American from Arizona studying civil engineering. He is failing calculus and is very uncommunicative. And he probably finds me the same way. For 5 months now, I have had time for little besides study, worry about money, and wonder why I ever came here.
We're going to have an examination.
The English examination I passed in Addis Ababa with such fluency is simply not the same language spoken here. constant series of quizzes I find irritating. Most are transparently designed to inform the professor whether you've read his assignment. Of course I haven't read his assignment. There is no time to read assignments.
Wait a minute, have I clicked the wrong thing? They say this is humorous. So far, it doesn't exactly seem humorous. It actually seems like a pretty accurate portrayal of being in college.
Aside from the library, my class buildings and the dormitory, I know little of the campus and less of the city. I feel like the village idiot treated with polite deference by my colleagues. It is maddening. Occasional walks in the evening with advice and friendship from my own people were genuinely pleasurable moments. But when the year's examinations were finished, I felt it pointless to continue here in frustration, loneliness, and poverty.
Oh yeah, wow, this is hilarious, I guess.
I was about to wire for passage home when I received notification that my grades were very high and I had been accepted by my department as teaching assistant. Fantastic. I shall stay another year. But if it is anything like the last one, I am leaving. But
take a reservation.
You mean it gets worse?
Old customs and strange rites are practiced by the natives.
Well, welcome to the student union. What's your name?
Hailu Fullas.
Oh, you speak English very well.
Thank you. Giza, you will see that when you get out of that dormitory. My second year began with a teaching assistant's salary too. If you share, you can afford an apartment, but they're difficult to find.
As far as I can tell, it's the music is what makes this humorous. That's about all. That's about all I've seen so far.
Hi there. Well, what you doing away back there? Come on up.
There are no servants in this country, so the men often cook for themselves. We attempted this with some success.
Ah, that's better. I'm glad you dropped by. I've got a little story I think you'll like. It's about a four-legged friend of mine. No, I don't mean Papa back there. This happened a while back in the beautiful Capitan Mountain country of New Mexico, on the Lincoln National Forest. It was daytime on the Capitan, dry and hot, but still nice and peaceful. All the animals in the forest were having a grand old time in the sunshine of spring.
You are helped some of our landlady, who turned out to be a kindly soul at heart, who developed a motherly interest in our welfare. There was one little 3-month-old fellow in particular who didn't have a care in the world. He was spending his time having fun, a-growling, and a-prowling, and a-scratching.
My landlady.
Where are you taking language?
Excuse me, my landlady.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Whether it's perceived.
If we were drinking wine here today, how would you say wine? Wayne.
Man, I finally figured out what was going on. He was playing two videos at the same time.
What kind of wine do you actually
So
drink?
what the hell is happening here?
Is there some special type in Ethiopia?
Yeah, there is one special type we call the saris.
And what's it made of?
It's made of grapes.
My bad.
Ethiopia. Ethiopia. Ethiopia.
But for all the casual and relaxed socializing, the second year brings a difficult decision. My specialized research is complete. Should I go home now? Or what seems increasingly possible, like my American colleagues, stay on and work toward the highest degree offered in my field? But it's taken you 5 years, Tamro, and you've not finished yet.
As a matter of fact, my dear Hyde, my government has just inquired. Tamro, are you still a student or a refugee?
What takes so long?
Have some coffee.
Oh, thank you.
What country are you all from?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Oh, how wonderful. So glad you could come.
Thank you.
As I was saying, why does it take 5 years to finish?
This sort of thing for one. And then I have to spend a lot of time giving you all advice. However, I'm beginning to feel more pressing obligations along that line.
Better hurry up, honey, you're late.
Okay. So, there is less time than ever, not counting my 2 jobs. But with all the demands, I'm still satisfied. In no other system could I enroll first for a limited study.
I think the only thing that so far that's been funny about this is when I had a second video playing accidentally in the background. It specifically says this is humorous. We're just about finished, and I have yet to see the humor. All right. I guess you had to be there.
Continue on becoming a member of the staff. Complete a program for a doctorate and still support a family. This whole university is filled with married students somehow working, raising families, and studying at the same time. Now, this life cannot be described as conducive to serene contemplation. Yet, somewhere during the press of one's job, professional studies, the inevitable destructions of a material society, and the more pleasurable demands of marriage. You find a few moments to reflect on the point of all this. Well, I don't know, as usual, shouldn't start again.
I don't even know what this is about. To be honest, I'm really not even sure what we're watching here.
One day, in the middle of a class I give for the Peace Corps, I really felt for the first time the irony that I, an Ethiopian, was giving instruction to Americans who were going to my country to assist Ethiopians. I knew it was time for me to return for whatever contribution I am capable of making to my own land.
Why is this called Have a Coke? I don't understand.
It seems that I have confirmed a position in Addis Ababa. I shall return on acceptance of my thesis here, probably next month.
Congratulations. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. So you all will have to find yourselves another guide in this exotic part of the world. And there, I would say, is someone who is in need of much guidance and counseling.
Welcome to the Student Center.
Oh, well, there you go. They have a now they have a Coke.
Modesta, that's interesting. How long have you been in America?
2 hours.
Oh, well, have a Coke.
Have a Coke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A nice lady.
I mean, I guess you had to be there. You had to have been there in 1966 to understand what's going on. That was it, huh? I'm not sure what we were looking at there. But I have the vote in the chat for the next film. Little Smokey, which says that it is a... Let's see, how does it describe it? It says... Documentary tells the story of the real Smokey Bear from his rescue as a cub in the Capitan Mountains through his life at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Or How to Be Well Groomed in 1949. I don't think that needs more of a description. I think it's pretty clear what that is. I gotta tell you, that was not at all what I expected from a depicts, and it's this is the description. Depicts in a humorous vein the impressions of 3 Ethiopian students. I'm not sure that I heard or got the humor. I must have missed that. But we'll give the vote just a little bit longer. Just long enough for me to say, check out the merch. Link in the chat. Be armed, be dangerous, be moral. You know, I really thought that it was going to be the hats that everyone was going to be into because that's what people were talking about. But it's the shirts. The shirts have actually been selling better. The shirts have the, shotgun, a revolver, a 1911, an AR-15. But I have a hat for each one of those as well. So if you like to be armed and you like to be dangerous and you like to be moral, check it out. And of course, the super chats help me finish the AR-15 build, help me buy some ammo. And it will count towards that. If you don't want to give money to YouTube, you can always send it to the PayPal. Again, to support the channel and support my ability to continue to bear arms as any real American would. All right, looks like we're going to go to How to Be Well Groomed, 1949. We've watched a few of these grooming videos that were from the 50s and early 60s. And they were actually pretty interesting. This is the oldest one that I found. And just so we're clear, I don't pre-screen any of these. I mean, I find stuff that I think is interesting. And I haven't watched any of these either. So we're watching them together. I have no idea what we're about to see. And I think that the Have a Coke, the humorous story of 3 Ethiopian students proves that I'm not screening these things. I have no idea what we're about to watch. All right, so let's see. Where is the? Where is it? Let's give the vote a little bit longer while we once again check in on Private Snafu.
Technical ferry, first class, at your service. Now, gentlemen, the purpose of camouflage is to conceal things you do not wish to be seen. Now, the first man in history to use camouflage was Adam, back in the Garden of Eden. But gentlemen, the fig leaf today is not enough. Modern camouflage is an art and a science, if used intelligently. Take cover, stupid. Take cover. Uh-oh. Them tracks, they reveal your position. Hey, what about them tracks? What about that track? Bitte, mein Herr, haben Sie ein Like? Danke.
Haben Sie ein Light?
Of course, the enemy sometimes uses camouflage too.
This is real. These are real true facts. When the Nazis would smoke, a swastika would come out. They were that skilled.
Get in the shadow. Get in the shadow. Of course, Snafu. Shadows sometimes move. You may fire when ready, Von Gridley. So, gentlemen, if you want to fool them, remember this. Just make yourself part of the natural surroundings.
Whoa, whoa. You can't show that on YouTube. Actually, all jokes aside, you can show that last part on YouTube, but what's the most ridiculous is if this stream is going to get in trouble, you know, a few days from now as YouTube, you know, scans the stream and all that stuff, it would be for the swastikas. But you're not allowed to even show that. The animated breasts, I'm sure they are 100% fine with. But God forbid you show some swastikas. That's you can't. That's just. What are we doing here? Come on, that's crazy. All right. Per the vote, let's learn how to be well groomed in 1946. And I guarantee you whatever this is 10 times better than whatever we're doing nowadays. Absolutely.
Well, Sue, where are you?
In my room, Don.
Joe called. He said he'd be a little late. Say, do you look smooth?
Why, thank you, sir. You look mighty elegant yourself, if I may say so.
Yes, indeed. Both Don and Sue look like the kind of people you'd like to know, don't they? Of course, right now, they're dressed for their Friday dates. But don't you have the feeling that they're always well-groomed?
Yes, and that's no accident. For Don and Sue, the question, how do I look, depends on good grooming habits. Health, posture, cleanliness, and neatness, plus a daily routine of little finishing touches. Take last night, for example. On weeknights when there are no dates, plenty of time to do little things that make for a well-groomed appearance.
Hey, sis, haven't you finished with that iron yet?
You can have it in just a minute. Haven't you got anything else to do? Don, what are you doing in my sewing box?
Well, there's a loose button here.
Oh, all right. I'll fix it for you. That is, if you polish my shoes.
Well, I guess it's a deal. I have to polish my own. I might as well.
Aw, thanks.
Clothes pressed and mended, shoes polished. These are a few of the habits with which Don and Sue keep neat. And neatness is one of the fundamentals of grooming. So here's part of your big question, how do I look? Are my clothes neat and clean? Whether you do your own or achieve it by cooperative efforts, keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
And cleanliness and neatness apply to you as well as to your clothes. So after a cleansing, relaxing bath, that's a good daily habit, Sue has a regular routine. And plan time, too, for the finishing touches. Doing your nails, brushing your hair, and so on. Sue avoids red nail polish since it would call attention to her stubby hands. A clear polish keeps her nails sparkling. Once a week, Sue gives herself a complete manicure. Then daily care of her nails is easy. In the same way, regular shampoos and daily brushing keep her hair clean and glossy. And these finishing touches that add so much to Sue's cleanliness and neatness all fit into a simple schedule of daily activities. And now for at least 8 hours of sleep. Good health is the rule, for health is one of the foundations of your appearance.
Leave some hot water for me. And hurry, I'll have to shave.
All right, Don.
What to wear? The weather has something to do with your choice of clothes, but Don also thinks of other things. Most of his clothes are clean and pressed, so he's not as limited in selection. How about these slacks and this shirt? What do you think? How will Don look in this combination?
Let's hope he'll pay a little attention to patterns and colors.
How about this combination?
That's better. Now a tie to go with the outfit and Don's all set.
Don is putting one more finishing touch to his appearance. A well-matched outfit of clothes. How will he look?
Good enough in that outfit.
And now another little habit of cleanliness and neatness. Dirt under your fingernails must be cleaned every day, and it's better in private.
All right, Don, you're next.
Now for a cleansing morning shower.
Meanwhile, Sue gives thought to the day. What will she wear? That depends on her activities, of course. For school, choose comfortable, not too dressy clothes. Perhaps a skirt and a blouse to go with it. But what about these two blouses? Which is more appropriate for school? Which goes with the skirt?
Fellows like to see girls dress up, but in general only for a special occasion.
Yes, choose clothes that are suitable to your needs and situation. But remember that any clothes look better with good posture. Now that her clothes are selected, Sue is ready to fix her hair.
That's just true. That's good information.
What to do with those curls she so carefully put in last night? It doesn't matter just what hairstyle you use, as long as it looks right on you. Upswept? Loosely over the shoulders. Just be sure your hairdo suits you and that your hair is neatly in place.
And here's something else for your appearance. Eat a hearty, balanced breakfast. There's nothing like wholesome food to help keep you in good health.
And that means a clearer complexion, shining eyes, glossy hair.
In short, that means a better appearance. Don's all set to look right at school, isn't he?
Mother, too, keeps a good appearance, even around the house, for that keeps up her spirits.
And Father dresses according to his work, relying on cleanliness and neatness as the foundations of his appearance. So, for each individual, the finishing touches of appearance may be his or hers alone, suited to individual needs, actions, ideas.
After breakfast, Sue goes back to her room for some finishing touches. Her makeup. Her powder is one that blends with her natural coloring. She pats it on lightly, then carefully smooths it over her face.
And be careful when it comes to lipstick.
Yes. Choose a shade that goes with your own coloring and sets off your clothes to advantage. Then, easy does it. Now smooth out gently and wipe off any excess to leave only a smooth film of color, following the lines of your own lips. And finally, a last-minute once-over in the mirror. Make sure your hemline is even. Don't let your slip show.
Come on, we'll be late. Oh, boy, at the mirror again.
Well, the mirror could help you check your clothes, too, and improve your posture.
Got him.
Oh, trouser cuff. Thanks. And I could straighten up, couldn't I? Well, let's hurry, or we'll be late.
Cultivate such habits as cleanliness and neatness, so you'll be well groomed.
For all through the day,
I'm pretty
others
sure
are
all of this
looking
is
at you.
considered hate
Your
speech
mirror tells
nowadays.
you what others see.
Pretty sure.
How do you look? How does Sue look?
How does Don look?
Health, posture, cleanliness, neatness. These grooming habits form the basis of a good appearance and a well-planned outfit of clothes, well cared for hands and nails, light touches of makeup, a becoming hairdo.
Oh, Sue, where are you?
In my room, Don.
Joe called. He said he'd be a little late. Say, do you look smooth?
Well, thank you, sir. You look mighty elegant yourself.
Uh-oh, this is where we came in.
And this is where Don and Sue go out for a pleasant evening. Their good grooming habits help them in friendships and in business. For your success depends a great deal on how you look.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah, it's a... none of these things would be accepted nowadays. Telling someone to look decent is now considered some kind of hate speech. Or you're not body positive enough, or whatever. I have no idea. All right, before we get to the last thing, which we're going to go on to part 2 of the documentary that we started, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. World War II documentary called Why We Fight. Part 2 is called The Nazis Strike. Let's see here. Where is the publication date on this? Production date 1943. This motion picture film covers the growth of German aggression 1934 to 1940. Contains many animated maps explaining German tactics and many views of Adolf Hitler making speeches and in conferences. We watched the first one, the first part of this. This is like 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're gonna watch the second part of it. But before we do, a bit of breaking news. Daniel Penny, the man who subdued and ultimately ended up in the death of Jordan Neely, apparently has, for the first time, spoken about what happened. He says, quote, "This had nothing to do with race. I judge a person based on their character. I'm not a white supremacist. I mean, it's a little bit comical. Everybody who's ever met me can tell you I love all people, I love all cultures. You can tell them my past and all my travels and adventures around the world. I was actually planning a road trip through Africa before this happened." And he said, Penny said he would go into details of what happened because of his pending... He wouldn't go into details of what happened because of the pending case, but said the incident was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Penny, my brother. Why? Why release a statement like this? I mean, I get it. I understand that this is how you feel, but this is just red meat for these people. The more you deny, the more that they're going to get on you for this. I think the guy did the right thing, but it is just a bummer that... that he starts off his statement by saying this had nothing to do with race. I judge a person based on their character. They don't care about that, Daniel. They don't care. They do not care at all. If you were going to release a statement, you should have just said something along the lines of, listen, this guy was threatening to attack everybody on the train. We were stuck in a box. No one could leave. He was getting violent. I had to subdue him. That's all you got to say. Don't play into the race nonsense. Ugh. It's a bummer. Anyway, that's the breaking news. Breaking news, modern day. Now let's go into what we're here for. The time travel segments. So the first part was called Prelude to War. Second part, the Nazis Strike. And again, like I said, the motion picture film covers the growth of German aggression from 1934 to 1940. This will be the last thing we watch tonight because it's it's a documentary. It's like 45 minutes long. It's one of a 7-part documentary. So this is part 2. Who knows how long it's going to take us to get through this whole thing, but hey, we had fun watching it last time, and I actually want to watch all this. I do want to finish this, so here we go. Why we fight the Nazis strike. Come on, all you soy boys out there who love Marvel. Doesn't it sound like a Marvel movie? The Nazis strike. All right, let's do it. This already feels inappropriate by going through history. We're not allowed to do that.
The symbols and the leaders change, but Germany's maniacal urge to impose its will on others continues from generation to generation. In the last 75 years, this madness has cost the world more than 20 million killed, more than 60 million wounded, more than 200 million made homeless. This does not include the untold millions that died of disease resulting from war, or the billions upon billions of dollars worth of property destroyed. Nor does this include the grief, the anguish, the misery, the terror that the world has suffered, due to the Germans' insane passion to enforce their rule upon their neighbors. This passion for conquest reached its hysterical climax when Adolf Hitler enthroned himself as God and the German Führer. What fantastic dreams was this humorless man dreaming as he stood at Nuremberg and looked down on his fanatic followers?
In the Middle Ages, a plague of slavery descended on the world. Out of the wilds
I actually don't know if YouTube has changed its rules on showing Nazi imagery, because they had it. It was set up before that you couldn't show anything, even in a historical context. So hopefully they've changed that. And if they haven't, well, it's been fun, you guys. The stream will get taken down. I guess we'll just have to see.
Came a mighty army of fierce horsemen, led by Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan.
Burning, looting, pillaging. The barbarian horde swept across Asia and Eastern Europe. Genghis Khan conquered most of the world of the 13th century.
Genghis? I've never heard Genghis.
Adolf Hitler was determined to outdo him and conquer all of the world of the 20th. Set up at Munich was an institute devoted to the little-known science of geopolitics, vaguely defined as the military control of space. Germany's leading geopolitician, a former general, Karl Haushofer, was head man. Here was gathered together more information about your hometown than you yourself know. To the German geopolitician, the world is not made up of men and women and children who live and love and dream of better things. It is made up of only two elements, labor and raw materials. The geopolitician's job was to transform Hitler's ambition to control these elements into cold, hard reality. On their map, our planet is neatly divided into land and water. Water forms 3/4 of the Earth's surface, land only 1/4. And in that 1/4 of the Earth's surface lies the world's wealth, all its natural resources. The world's manpower. Control the land and you control the world. That was Hitler's theory. This all-important land, the geopoliticians now break up into two areas. One, the Western Hemisphere, which, together with Australia and all the islands of the world, including Japan, comprises 1/3 of the land area. The other area,
I do want to check again what this creators, the Department of Defense, Department of the Army, Office of the Chief Signal Officer. And maybe I'm maybe I'm just not understanding what I'm looking at or something. I mean, I understand what I'm looking at, but it's I wish the U.S. National Archive would give you a little bit more context as far as when things like this were released and like where they were shown. I feel like that's an important context to get. I mean, where it was in 1943, where was this shown? I mean, could you go see this in theaters? I'm not entirely sure because it doesn't tell you. Oh crap! I accidentally hit it, and here we go. Okay, I accidentally changed my spot. But you know what I mean? Am I wrong? I mean, to me, it seems like it'd be interesting just to know the exact context of where this was shown and why it was made. It just gives you a description and tells you when it was made and who made it, which is great, but I don't know. I'm looking on the government website. And again, it's not giving you much more information. I don't know, maybe it's just me and I'm just being an idiot and I'm missing something here, but I feel like I'd like to know the full context. And I feel like that's what an archive should do, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
On their map, our planet is neatly divided into land and water. Water forms 3/4 of the Earth's surface, land only 1/4. And in that 1/4 of the Earth's surface lies the world's wealth, all its natural resources. The world's manpower. Control the land and you control the world. That was Hitler's theory. This all-important land, the geopoliticians now break up into 2 areas. One, the Western Hemisphere, which, together with Australia and all the islands of the world, including Japan, comprises 1/3 of the land area. The other area, which consists of Europe, Asia, and Africa, makes up the other 2/3. This supercontinent, which they call the World Island, is not only twice as large as the rest of the land area, but also includes 7/8 of the world's population. The heart of this world island comprises Eastern Europe and most of Asia. This they call the Heartland, which just about coincides with the old empire of Genghis Khan. Hitler's step-by-step plan for world conquest can be summarized this way. Conquer Eastern Europe, and you dominate the Heartland. Conquer the Heartland, and you dominate the world island. Conquer the world island, and you dominate the world.
That was the dream in Hitler's mind as he stood at Nuremberg.
Hitler! Sieg! Heil! Sieg!
With pagan pageantry, the district leaders from all over Germany swore personal allegiance to him, hypnotized with the belief that they were members of a master race. This film will deal with Act 1 of the Nazi bid for world power, the most fantastic play in all recorded history. Hitler had seen Hirohito grab off Manchuria and other territory from the Chinese. He had watched Mussolini get away with the rape of Ethiopia. He had seen the democratic world look the other way while these illegal aggressions were going on. And he smiled. For collective action to enforce peace, the only weapon he had to fear, had broken down. It was time now for the Nazis to start crossing borders. It was time for Hitler to put his plan into action. And what was he waiting for? He was waiting to soften up his victims, keep them from uniting. For the softening up process, he sent his agents all over the world disguised as tourists, students, and commercial travelers. Payoff men like Ribbentrop came too, to bribe, threaten, and form local fascist parties such as de Grelle and his Rexist party in Belgium, such as Larocque and his Cross of Fire party in France, Henlein in Czechoslovakia, Seyss-Inquart and his National Socialists in Austria. In Britain, Sir Oswald Mosley offered himself to the people as a Hitler with an Oxford accent.
In other words, I'm told that Hitler is mad. Well, I've got another view myself.
Until the day when they would make easy Hitler's actual invasion, these subversive fascist organizations provoked riots and rebellions, creating scenes like these in France. Scenes like these in Belgium. Scenes like these in Belgium. Scenes like these in France. Scenes like these in Belgium. Scenes like these in France. Scenes like these in Belgium. 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 Scenes like And where do you think this is? Right in Madison Square Garden, USA. And this is Fritz Kuhn, leader of a German-American Bund, hiding behind the American flag, but taking his orders from Berlin and copying the methods of Berlin. That was the softening up process outside Germany. But inside Germany, it was a different story. Here, in utmost secrecy, the hardening up process, building up Hitler's army and his industry.
Tell the world we have no raw materials and never let them see what goes on. Day after day, night after night, month after month, year after year. We must have the world's most powerful club. Forget ours. Forget working conditions. Forget how to think. Forge the club of blood and iron. Let the democracies talk about freedom. No freedom here. No labor unions. No overtime. The Führer tells you where to work, when to work, how long to work, how much your work is worth. Forge the club of blood and iron. We have a sacred mission. Today we rule Germany. Tomorrow, the world.
And for those who don't like it, you don't eat. Or you disappear into a concentration camp. Or you get this. And this is the man who gives it to you. And what of the army? Before Hitler came into power, the German army by treaty was limited to 100,000 men. But treaties to the Germans have always been something to ignore. These 100,000 men were, in reality, 100,000 highly trained officers, the men who lead the Nazi regiments today. But Hitler didn't merely ignore the treaty. He tore it up, and in 1935 ordered national conscription. Simultaneously, he ordered German youth to become air-minded. Toy gliders filled the air. But as the boys grew bigger, so did the gliders. Soon these same youths were trained pilots, flying the new planes the factories were producing. The Luftwaffe was being assembled. The only thing old about this new army was the goose step. And even Hitler couldn't improve on that ancient German form of torture, designed to make man stop thinking and blindly obey. Goose-step them until they become as insensible as weapons. Everything else was new. Tanks, motorized equipment, and one of our own inventions, the dive bomber. All this rearmament was strictly illegal, according to the Versailles Treaty. And the next illegal step Hitler took was to march his troops into the Rhineland, a strip of land between Germany and France, demilitarized after the last war as a precaution against future German aggression. But Hitler's plan of eastern conquest demanded a barrier against democratic action in the West. So Hitler remilitarized the Rhineland and began building the formidable Siegfried Line, a chain of forts and defenses 450 miles long and in some places 30 miles wide. Germany had fought one two-front war and didn't want another. As many as 500,000 men worked as much as 20 hours a day to build 22,000 fortified positions on land, where, by treaty, no German soldier was supposed to set foot. Hitler had his Siegfried line. He had his equipment. He had his army. Now to unveil the German might and terrorize his intended victims into submission. General staffs all over the world anxiously awaited the report of their military attachés. A would-be peaceful world learned that a vast military power had materialized out of nowhere. A power controlled by one man who tore up treaties as we tear up ticker tape. Satisfied they had created the right sense of fear in the world, the Nazi leaders were now ready to strike. The hour had come. It was time to start...
I keep thinking of instances, where I want to interject and say something because, it's supposed to be my stream, but I'm actually just interested in this. So forgive me if you're looking for the commentary. I think this is... It makes it even more interesting because it's from 1943. I mean, again, keep bringing it up, but I would love to know the context in which this was released. I have no idea. I'd have to look it up and see. Was this being played in theaters, or was this shown to our military, or what? I don't know.
Conquering Eastern Europe, according to the plan of Hitler's geopoliticians. It was time to win the domination of the heartland. Who would the first victim be? Naturally, the softest, Austria. Bite off just enough not to set the world against you. On March the 12th, 1938, without warning, the German armies marched over the Austrian border. It was really only a full-scale invasion test, and Hitler rode in triumph into Vienna. Even the very name of Austria disappeared from the map, though Hitler had promised earlier to the world. The assertion that it is the intention of the German Reich to coerce the Austrian state is absurd. Why was Austria important to Hitler? It put him on the southern flank of Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia was the key to the control of Eastern Europe.
The German Chancellor Bismarck explained that years ago when he said, "He who would conquer Europe must first hold the bastions of Bohemia." And Bohemia was now part of Czechoslovakia.
But Czechoslovakia was tough. It had a good army. It had good equipment. It had one of the finest munition plants in the world, the Skoda Works, which Hitler wanted very badly. It had incorruptible President Banish. It had a military alliance with France. And France had a military alliance with Britain. Hitler had to move carefully. Find excuses to take Czechoslovakia one piece at a time. He found his excuse in the Sudetenland, a portion of Czechoslovakia bordering Germany. Here lived some people of German origin, although they had never been a part of Germany itself. That was Hitler's cue.
Completely ignoring the fact that most people who left Germany had done so to get away from things like Hitler, he sprang his pet theory that every person of German blood, no matter where he lived, belonged to the Nazi Reich. Germans are descendants of Germans, often with no more than a drop of German blood.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I would assume that this was basically, U.S. propaganda for the United States military. I mean, what else? I can't believe that they would be showing this all over the place, but I got to assume, that this was made for the U.S. military to see what they were getting into. I mean, makes sense.
In their veins, suddenly learned that they were godlike, not subject to the laws of the land in which they live and to which they owe their allegiance, whether it be Czechoslovakia, Norway, Sweden, China, the United States, or Timbuktu. According to the Nazis, the German was a special creature who remained forever German. to the 6th and 7th generation and must take his orders from Berlin. Some people we know of German descent think this is a lot of hogwash. Including 15% of any group like this. But in the Sudetenland, he found some stooges who fell for this bunk. Konrad Henlein was their Bush League Führer. The people of the Sudetenland were told they should be liberated. They were told Hitler was their liberator. The Nazis smuggled over their standard softening up equipment, blackjacks. And when the Czechs were beaten up trying to combat his fifth columnists, Hitler screamed the Germans were being persecuted and threatened war unless he got the Sudetenland. It is the last territorial claim I have to make in Europe. I have assured Mr. Chamberlain, and I repeat it here, that when this problem is solved, there is for Germany no further territorial problem in Europe. We want no Czechs.
To the League of Nations, Foreign Minister Maxim Litvinov announced that Russia stood ready to back concerted action against Germany. But once again, there was to be no concerted action. The Czechs mobilized and closed their borders. The leaders of France and Britain, desperately striving to avoid war, flew to meet the jubilant Axis leaders at Munich. On September 29th, in return for Hitler's guarantee of world peace, Chamberlain and Daladier prevailed upon Czechoslovakia to give up the Sudetenland without a fight. In Czechoslovakia, the Munich Pact was greeted by riots of protest. But Daladier returned to France to be greeted by cheers from a relieved French people. And in Britain, a happy Chamberlain came back declaring he had achieved peace, peace in our time. One of the most tragic and ironic scenes in all history.
This morning, I had another talk with the German Chancellor, Herr Hitler. And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine. We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.
Peace, it wasn't peace. The Nazis hadn't merely got 3 million more souls under the German flag. By taking the Sudetenland, they had made Czechoslovakia defenseless. For in this territory lay the natural defenses, the mountain ranges, and a defensive line of forts considered even stronger than the Maginot Line. Without these fortifications, Czechoslovakia was disarmed, a ripe plum ready to fall into Hitler's lap. Within 6 months of declaring that he wanted no more territory anywhere, he violated the Munich Agreement, marched in, and took the whole of the Czech state, though he had specifically promised, "I have no further interest in the Czechoslovakian state. That is guaranteed. We want no Czechs." Austria and Czechoslovakia were gone without a fight, and Hitler was getting his control of Eastern Europe. Poland was next on the map. The tired old man of Munich now knew that there could be no peace in our time.
Surely he won't go after Poland. I mean, that's just... that would be crazy.
To change the situation by force in such a way as to threaten Polish independence, why then that would inevitably start a general conflagration. in which this country would be involved.
But after his success at Munich, Hitler was sure that France and Britain would not fight. Here's what one of his spokesmen said. Democracy has no convictions for which people would be willing to stake their lives.
But what about the Russians? The lights began to burn all night in Moscow. British and French military missions arrived to confer with the Soviet government. So did German representatives. And on August 21st, 1939, the world was set on its heels by the announcement of a treaty between the Russians and the Germans in which they agreed not to fight each other. Here were the admitted arch-enemies in a state of apparent friendship. It was too fantastic to make any sense. It didn't. The Germans hoped they could lull Russia into a false sense of security, and the Russians needed time to prepare for the fight they knew was coming. They'd read Hitler's book Mein Kampf too, and knew he had his eyes on the rich Russian land. Confident that Russia was safely pigeonholed and that the democracies would not fight, the Nazis started singing their favorite theme song, that all people of German blood belonged to them, and picked Danzig as their excuse for the gobbling up of Poland. Danzig, a free city, self-governing under the League of Nations, was an important seaport at the head of the Polish corridor, Poland's access to the sea. The same old softening up process had gone on here. Local stooges, armed by Germany, began to terrorize the city. Hitler demanded Danzig and the Polish corridor, or else. The people of Poland prepared for the inevitable. Although they knew Britain and France had guaranteed their borders, they also knew those countries were a long way off.
I guess we don't have as many World War II buffs in the chat tonight as we did last time when we watched part 1. But we are going to finish this. I did want to say though, for future streams, I did set up a new record player. Over the legal limit is gone, but every so often it'll still be fun to play some music and hang out with that. So if that's what you're into, don't worry. We'll keep doing it. All right. Back to this.
Germany's theft of Czechoslovakia had made Poland's strategic position even worse. Except for the Carpathian Mountains, Poland is relatively flat and low-lying. The Vistula is the Mississippi of Poland. It is broad, muddy, and unfordable for most of its length. Its tributaries are formidable streams during certain seasons. But there was a drought, and the streams were so low during the campaign that they could be forded at almost any point by men, trucks, and tanks. Militarily, the Vistula offered the best line of defense. However, making a stand here would have meant surrendering Warsaw in the richest part of the country. The alternative was to accept battle on the border. That was the Polish decision. The Nazi plan was an enormous pincer movement aimed at encircling the mass of the Polish armies. Secondary pincer movements were to encircle any Polish groups which escaped the main trap. During the last 2 weeks in August, the German armies moved toward the Polish border, where they assembled 70 divisions, many of them armored. From a military standpoint, the Poles were hopelessly outclassed by their predatory neighbor. They managed to mobilize barely 30 divisions, made up of infantry or horse cavalry. In two important respects, the difference was staggering. The Nazis, 5,000 modern tanks. Poland, 600 nondescript tanks. The German Luftwaffe, 6,000 modern planes. The Polish Air Force, less than 1,000 of inferior types.
Oh yeah,
The German army.
It's funny you say that because I was about to interject that if you don't understand why this is interesting or why this is on the Swamp Channel, then you really don't understand what's going on. We need to well, you know, we need to educate ourselves on history. If you don't understand why this is relevant to current culture wars and political issues in the United States, I don't know what to tell you. I assume if you're watching this channel at all, you understand that, and you also find this interesting. At least I would think. Why else would you listen to me?
Secretly made ready. The way of living for the next 1,000 years was to be decided. The fire that had begun in Manchuria and spread through China and Ethiopia and Spain would now blaze around the world. This man made that decision. War. Precisely at dawn on September 1st, without warning, the German Wehrmacht rolled over the Polish border. Before the invasion was 30 minutes old, the planes of the Luftwaffe were over Poland, wiping out the Polish Air Force, most of it caught flat-footed on the ground. Planes that did get off faced overwhelming odds and were shot out of the sky. Flying Nazi squadrons ranged deep into Poland, destroying communications, radio stations, power plants, highways, bridges, railroads. The Polish army was disorganized by the loss of its air force and the disruption of communications. The massed ground units of the Nazi army continued their advance. Occasionally, they unveiled a new technique or item of equipment. For example, advance units of the German Fourth Army crossed the Vistula in a new type of storm boat. By September the 5th, the Polish retreat developed alarming tendencies. The powerful German 10th Army, which was to form the southern claw of the great Nazi pincers, was advancing with its 5 armored divisions on either flank. On September 6th, the opposing Poles began splitting into 2 groups, the southern one falling back toward the Vistula. The armored divisions on the German right raced ahead, circling Radom and cutting off this group, which finally surrendered. Meanwhile, further north, the main Polish mass began drifting toward Lodz. The German command, perceiving that this opened the gate toward Warsaw, sent the northern Nazi armored units racing through the gap to the Polish capital. The infantry advanced in forced marches of 35 miles a day, and 2 days later relieved the panzers about Warsaw. The city was now cut off. West of Warsaw, the main Polish armies were encircled. Under terrific pressure on the ground and pounded ceaselessly from the air, they began to disintegrate. They fought on with high personal courage, but without airplanes, without communications, cut off from their general staff, the isolated Polish groups were forced to surrender, one by one.
But Warsaw still resisted. The heroic strains of the Polonaise told an incredulous world that the people of Warsaw, led by Mayor Straczynski, had erected a wall of courage around their city, defying Hitler to do his damnedest. Stopped cold by the city's desperate resistance, the Nazis were forced to send for heavier artillery. The only source of such artillery was Germany's Western Front. With great secrecy, the giant 240mm howitzers were towed at high speed across the highways which Hitler had built for just such purposes and set in position around Warsaw. The huge guns subjected the city to a bombardment of incredible fury, their fire concentrated on the densely populated residential areas. For 20 days of death and horror, every man, woman, and child fought to save his city. But without food or water, human endurance failed. On September the 27th, the strains of the Polonaise died on the Warsaw radio, and the Polish capital was forced to capitulate.
Now all Polish resistance was at an end, except here, the Westerplatte forts opposite Danzig. This small island of stubborn defiance had stood up under the fire of German warships from the first day. Its guns silenced, its forts shattered, it still refused to surrender, even under point-blank fire at 800 yards range. It was an exhibition of Polish valor that will go down in history, but militarily it could not avail. On October the 1st, the garrison at last surrendered. Surrendered to face the fate of these men, Polish prisoners being marched off to Nazi prison camps, an eventual extermination. For the Nazi master race theory calls for the complete wiping out of so-called inferior races. And in village after village, local Judases point out loyal Polish neighbors.
Local Judases, wow. That's a strong line. That's a strong line. I don't think I can show this stuff on. I mean, I guess the U.S. National Archive gets away with it. They're allowed to. I'm not sure. I might get in trouble for showing such brutal stuff. So you'll have to look at my mug until I think I can show it again. I actually will get in trouble for that. Here we go.
Including another one of Hitler's famous promises. Germany has concluded a non-aggression pact with Poland. We shall adhere to it unconditionally. The world now knew that a non-aggression pact with Hitler was the kiss of death. Poland was completely destroyed. Completely? Not quite. During the last days of the campaign, the Russian army entered eastern Poland and took up positions along the Bug River. The two strongest armies in Europe faced each other. Hitler could decide now whether to keep on heading east or call it quits. He called it quits. Why did Hitler quit here? He had to. To continue a drive to the east would leave Germany facing the threat he had always sworn to avoid, a two-front war. How he met that threat you will see in the next film. What Hitler thought impossible was anything but. The day after Hitler crossed the Polish border, France called up her reservists. Within 24 hours, British planes had bombed German warships in the Kiel Canal. Not merely the British government, but the British people had declared war. War on Hitler and everything he stood for. The democracies did have convictions for which people were willing to stake their lives. Unprepared? Yes. But that didn't matter. For they finally realized that what was being threatened wasn't just the integrity of Poland, but the integrity of free men everywhere in the world.
What tragedies, what horrors, what crimes has Hitler and all that Hitler stands for brought upon Europe and the world. It is upon this foundation that Hitler pretends to build out of hatred a new order for Europe. But nothing is more certain than that every trace of Hitler's footsteps, every stain of his infected and corroding fingers will be sponged and purged, and if need be, blasted from the surface of the earth. Lift up your hearts. All will come right out of the depths of sorrow and of sacrifice. Will be born again the glory of mankind.
All right, let's see. The quote, "No compromise is possible, and the victory of the democracies can only be complete with the utter defeat of the war machines of Germany and Japan." So that's the end of that one. And I'm not kidding when I say I gotta watch what I'm showing, even if I'm showing stuff from YouTube. That's the total irony of it. I can show videos from other YouTube videos, and they'll jump on me for inappropriate content or whatever. It's happened several times when I was showing things from modern day LGBTQ stuff, where I'll show it and then the video will get restricted or get taken down. So we'll see. We'll see if this one stays up or not. I have no idea. But in other news, as we are closing out this stream, I did pull up the photo. Here we go. That's what you guys have helped me build thus far. I very much appreciate it. We had a slow night tonight. But we had some good donations yesterday, so I greatly appreciate it. To help finish out the build for the AR-15. I hope you guys had a good time. I always enjoy doing these U.S. archive streams. And like I said, maybe I'll, every so often, because I do miss doing it. I just don't want to do it all the time. The over the legal limit type stream of playing some records. I can't do it as much anymore because, as I said, the reason I stopped doing it in the first place is because they started claiming all kinds of music and preventing me from playing music. So I've only got so many records I even can play, which is just a pain in the ass. Hey, I'd gladly share any revenue with any of the artists, but that's not what YouTube does. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Hope you had a good time. I'll hang out in the Discord for a little while. The link for the Discord is in the description. Make sure you like the stream. And God bless America. You know? We're going to keep trying our best. We're going to try to get rid of all these evil influences in the nation and hopefully become the nation that once upon a time fought in World War II. All right, guys. Don't forget to check out the merch. Get a t-shirt, a hat, something or other. You know? Be armed, be dangerous, be moral. Donate to the PayPal if you don't want to give YouTube any money. Which, as I always say, I know it's kind of a bummer. PayPal is also kind of lame, like YouTube is. But I do get a bigger cut, and you don't give money to YouTube if you use the PayPal. All right, guys. It's been fun. My name is Swamp, and I'll see you guys next time.